Hey class, how you doing? This is Chef Dignon. I'm just coming to you from my home kitchen again. I realized after our theory today that it is National Bake Your Cookies Day. So what I'm doing is I decided to record some cookies for you that I will make, some classics that go on in my family at home. Are Rugelachs. Okay, my mother, ever since I was a kid, would always make Rugelachs. It started with my step grandmother. She was from Sicily. Okay, Sicilian family background, and I wasn't blood related, but that had kind of translated into my culture as growing up because they were a big part of our life. So these were some of the cookies she made, and then my mother started to make them as well. So a Rugelach cookie that consists of nuts, raisins, and it's a basic cream cheese dough. All right, it's a pretty simple cookie dough to make, and I'm going to go over that with you today. So the first thing I'd like to start off with, I'm sorry about the background noise. I have dogs, and sometimes they're a little uncontrollable. So if there's a little background noise, I apologize. Hopefully the mailman doesn't show up because that will be a problem. Okay, so what I'm going to do to start this dough is we're gonna cream together. Okay, big word, cream, right? When we say that, we're meaning that we're incorporating some ingredients and whipping them until they get nice and creamy and incorporated. So we're going to cream together butter. Okay, half a pound of butter, so 2 sticks. Okay, because each stick is a 1/4 pound. Okay, we're also going to do 8 ounces of cream cheese, so 1 packet of cream cheese. It's important that before you mix this, that you let your butter and your cream cheese come up to room temperature. I've had them sitting out for about 2 hours now. Hopefully they're soft enough. It is a little cold out today, so that does play a role into how well it softens. And here they go. They're running around like crazy. They are a bit extra. Okay, so we're just going to take our butter and we're going to throw that into my stand mixer. I have a KitchenAid. Okay, I don't have the 6-quart one. I wish I did sometimes, but I think this one's big enough for me. This is just under the 6-quart size under that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my butter first and foremost. Okay, and I'm going to start to cream that before I even put my cream cheese in. And I'm going to tell you that the reason I do that is so this way any lumps in the butter, if the butter is a little cold, it gives the butter the opportunity to really whip up before you add your cream cheese. Otherwise, what happens is, especially if your cream cheese is a little bit cold, is you're going to wind up with little lumps of butter, okay, that really don't cream into the cream cheese. And when you go to bake your product, those little pockets of butter are going to melt and then burst, and it's going to be a mess. It's not going to, your dough is not going to come out right. Okay, it might have spots. It might have fat floating on the top in certain spots. It might separate a little bit, make your dough greasy. It could also potentially burn in certain places, so you don't want to do that. Okay, so a lot could go wrong if you don't cream the butter first. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start my mixer and I'm just going to let it roll. Okay, it's going to be a little bit noisy, but you get the point. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to let that butter really start to whip and get soft. I like to wait to see that my butter is kind of turning into a pale white color and starts to, like, when it pulls off the side, it leaves little peaks. Okay, soft peaks, and they fall. And that's when I know that my butter is starting to cream. Of course, I have a rubber spatula because it's important as we go. We're going to scrape down the side of that bowl, right, to make sure that everything gets done evenly. I have already gone ahead and preheated my oven to 350 degrees. Okay, so this way when my cookies are ready, we can cook. When we mix this dough, after we mix it, we're going to have to take that dough, and then we're going to have to refrigerate it for an hour. So we have some time in between making this dough to do something else, to make another cookie. All right. So now I'd like to just stop this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, okay? For starters, okay? Up here, you can really see on the beater, okay? Let me take this off, okay? You can really start to see it's kind of pale white in color, okay? The peaks are starting to get up there. But if you look at my spatula, if you look at my paddle, rather, my paddle, it has, over here, it's nice and light and creamy. Down here, it's still a little bit like yellowish and lumpy. So I want to really scrape that down, okay? And make sure that, maybe the measure. Somebody's walking their dog down the street, so it makes my dogs a little crazy, okay? I hate to yell at them, to protect them. And the second thing is, I like them to be free range, you know? I like them to be able to have fun with it, okay? All right, so I'm going to and scrape my bowl down. All right. I'm going to go ahead and scrape the sides of my bowl down. Okay. And now the point I'm at right here, I think I'm okay to add the cream cheese. Okay, because it's pretty much been whipped really good. All right. I creamed rather than whipped. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my cream cheese to my mixing bowl. Again, this is just one pack, which is 8 ounces. All right. Cream cheese is always a mess. Okay. Cheese, always a mess. All right, my spice cabinet is open. Which, guys, let me tell you something. I never have enough room for the amount of spices I have. I have so many spices. I can't tell you. My spice cabinet is organized chaos at its best. All right. Let's lock the lid, and let's go ahead and start to cream this. Now, while we're creaming our cream cheese and our butter together, okay? While we're creaming that together, we're going to go ahead and start to make, well, we got to measure our flour first. We need 2 cups of flour, guys, okay? Now, when I say 2 cups of flour, okay, everybody's going to go ahead. They'll probably grab and just grab the measuring cup and dunk it right into the flour and scoop it and tap it, right? But, you know, the proper way to measure flour, okay, if you're not dealing with weight, and this is very, very important, is with a spoon. You're going to take your spoon, you're going to go into your flour, okay? And you really got to kind of fluff it up a little bit and then put it into your measuring cup, okay? So right here I need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, okay? This is all-purpose flour, all right? Again, in my home, I always try to use the best flour I can find. Bob's Bread Mill is a really good company. He makes all sorts of stuff, okay? So now once I got my flour in there, right? Now I'm going to tap it with my spoon, okay? Once I tap it with the spoon, I'm going to go ahead and take the back of my spoon and level it off, all right? And that's how you properly measure a cup. Because what happens is now you have air pockets in that flour, okay? Whereas you really want flour to be light and fluffy when you measure it, okay? You do not want it to be like brown sugar where you really want to pack it down, okay? Because otherwise it's not going to be right, okay? So we just give it a little tappy tap, all right? We're going to go ahead and then we're going to level it off and make sure we have an accurate cup, okay? Always bang your hands together, get that flour off. A little bit spilt on my countertop, which is fine because we actually need to dust it later anyway. So we're going to put the flour off to the side. My creaming is looking pretty good. I'm going to kick that up a notch. Steal Emerald's catchphrase there for a second. Because you really want to beat this, okay, in order to cream it really good. This is great for when you're making a buttercream also. This is the same process. You beat your sugar first, cream your sugar. Cream your butter first, and then cream your cream cheese into it. Then you'll avoid having those lumps in your buttercream or frosting, cream cheese frosting, whatever you're making. Okay. But yeah, so this is nice and creamy, guys, okay? Pull that out. Look at that. Nice and creamy. Been creamed really well. It's always good to have a good mixer, okay? A good stand mixer makes jobs light and easy. You could use a hand mixer, right? The one that has the 2 egg beaters on it. You could definitely use that, no problem. You could do it by hand, but that's a lot of work, okay? It is a lot of work to do by hand. School's going to kill me. I just got cream cheese on the keyboard. Huh. Well, this is what happens when you got us cooking at home. Teaching from home, right? You can't plan for it very well. Anything can happen. All right. So here we go. We have that. So now from here, we want to add sugar, okay, which I have pre-measured out. A 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, just granulated, all right. We got to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, I always use kosher salt. I don't ever use table salt in my kitchen at home. I don't even own table salt, all right. And I know that sometimes we use it a lot in the shop, all right. So 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. If you mix it enough, it'll break down. Okay, and then we got to add our vanilla. I don't remember how much vanilla, so I'm just going to look real quick. Okay, off the top of my head, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, so again, this is a really easy recipe. It's a really quick dough. 1 teaspoon vanilla. I love the smell of vanilla extract. Now at shop, we use the imitation vanilla extract because that's what we can afford to budget. Okay, vanilla extract right now is very, very expensive. Last year, vanilla, there was a shortage of vanilla. around the world, from Madagascar and Tahiti, and basically it skyrocketed the price of vanilla. So now there's, the price of vanilla beans has come down, but vanilla extract, because of that, had suffered a great deal because they couldn't make it. So it really went up in price. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to cream this together. Okay? You want that sugar to start to break down. You want to really mix in that that vanilla extract and the salt really well. The reason we're not adding the flour right now, what do you guys think? Why do you think that might be? Right? Think about that for a second. Potentially, if we added the flour, we'd mix it at the same time, and it would incorporate just like the sugar is and the salt. But the problem is, in order to do that, to get it to the point where the sugar and the salt are broken down, the flour is going to mix, and we're going to create too much gluten structure, right? We talked a lot about gluten structure recently with the gnocchi making, and now with this. So you don't want to produce too much gluten because you'll wind up with a tough cookie. No pun intended. All right. So from here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in our flour. All right. I just want to make sure we don't have to do a little bit at a time. Add the flour and mix just until combined. So on low speed, okay, because again, we don't want to produce too much gluten. We want to do it on low speed.
I didn't understand that.
And also, you don't want your flour to go everywhere, right? I mean, maybe somebody does, but not me. Not in my kitchen. I don't have anybody to clean the mess up for me. I'll be stuck doing it. All right, so really we're just doing this until the flour is well combined. Okay, I'll stop there, and I'm going to scrape down the side of the bowl because I got flour rising to the top of it. Okay, try to get this off my spatula. Pull that dough off the paddle. Right, get that back in there. Okay, so just until combined. Okay. Just a little bit more, I think we gotta go. And my dough is there. All right. Here we have a nice sticky dough. Okay. Again, there's no egg in this. It's just cream cheese, sugar, salt, vanilla, flour, butter. All right. So that's how we mix the dough. So now, I'm going to take my dough, okay, and I'm going to dump it out onto the counter on the well floured. All right, we want it to be floured, so we're going to throw some flour down on the countertop. All right, now this I don't mind doing because ultimately what I'm putting down on the countertop, the dough that I'm putting is going to soak that up. So I'm going to take that. This dough is very sticky, guys, so, plan on it sticking to your hands. Okay. I'm going to take a paddle off. Remember, it's butter, so as butter melts, it gets sticky, so you got to work with it pretty quick because your hands are very warm. You don't want your hands heating up that butter and melting it, because then it's going to be more complicated to work with. So sometimes it's good to wear gloves, especially when it's really hot out, because what happens is that'll be a barrier between your, the heat from your hands and the dough. Okay, look at that. Get my rubber spatula back. Get my sink's clean. Okay. This is where a dough scraper comes in handy. I don't have a plastic dough scraper right now, but it would be very, very nice if I did. I should get some. We have plenty at shop. Okay. So there we go. All right. So from here, we're going to roll it into a ball. We're going to cut the ball into quarters, and we're going to place in plastic and then into the refrigerator. So we're going to roll this into a ball. Roll it into a ball. There we go. Not so much kneading like pizza dough. Okay, guys? This is different. Okay, so now we're going to cut it into quarters. You could use a bench scraper to cut this. I don't have one. Now remember, when cutting doughs, you don't want to saw. You want to just push down and go through. Okay? So just push down, go through. You know what helps? Just taking a little flour to the knife. Okay, be careful when you do that so you don't cut yourself, but that'll help. That'll help from sticking to the blade. Okay? So we cut in quarters. Now we're going to wrap with plastic. And we're going to refrigerate. Okay. When baking, it's never a good idea to wear a black shirt. You're using flour and everything else. That's why I never understood in the kitchens all the chefs wearing black chef coats. The flour gets all over them and it's impossible to get off. Okay. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go grab my plastic wrap. Okay. Okay. I'll take my dough, move it to my plastic wrap. Let me just make sure I'm supposed to wrap this now and not roll it first. Okay. Okay, we got to wrap each piece in plastic. See, good thing I checked again. All right. So we're going to wrap each individual piece in plastic. All right. Okay. And we're going to refrigerate for 1 hour, guys, okay? So while that's going, I'm going to clean up the kitchen, and we'll start on the next step. See you shortly.